And welcome back to Game Escape, here today with a head-to-head magazine review between Retro Gamer and Retro Video Game Magazine. Now, Retro Gamer has been around for quite some time. I believe it started back maybe 10 years ago in 2004. Publication out of the UK under the Image Publishing banner, and it really has been the established voice, and in fact one of the only voices in the retro video game print scene. And it's had a really tremendous run. A lot of great editions of this magazine have come out over the years, and they've covered a tremendous amount of ground between 2004 until now. Retro Video Game Magazine, on the other hand, is a new Kickstarter-funded project. This is issue 2. First one came out here in January of 2014, and these guys try to be kind of the American voice, to give an American alternative to Retro Gamer, and that's really the big content difference here, is where Retro Gamer, for all of its positives, and it really does give excellent coverage to the kind of games that people grew up with here in the States, Japanese games, the systems that we all know and love. They do spend a lot of time talking about systems and games that are very specific to the British market. Lots of retrospectives on systems like the Amstrad or the ZX Spectrum, things like that. And while it's an interesting read, it doesn't pack that nostalgia value for US gamers. You can see here Knight's Lore. It's a game I've never heard of. I'm trying to see what system that was for, but old school computer games. And like I said, it's kind of an interesting reference for those sorts of games. It doesn't really kind of tickle that nostalgic nerve in the same way that for American gamers anyway. And that's what Retro Video Game Magazine tries to correct. I mean, this is clearly aimed at the maybe 25 plus crowd, 25 years of age and up crowd here in the United States, and really captures, I think, a lot of what made video games terrific in the 80s and 90s. Beyond that, they tend to do the same things. You have developer interviews, you have retrospectives on particular games. In this case, it is River City Ransom and its upcoming remake, and then they sort of do reviews on more modern games that are retro rated, and that's typically comes at the back of Retro Gamer. See if we can find that section. Yeah, so retro rated like Donkey Kong Country, Tropical Freeze. So, as far as the approach to producing this content, very similar, just that Retro Gamer, has a lot of that British influence, and that has been a negative for some US readers or people who just didn't grow up with those consoles. As far as the writing goes, I think Retro Gamer, again, both sort of comparable as far as the writing. Retro Gamer, to me, adopts a more authoritative, almost encyclopedic tone, whereas Retro Video Game Magazine kind of reads like an old issue of, say, something like EGM. It's lighthearted, kind of excited about the games, and so it's a matter of taste, really. I don't find one writing style or one set of writers to be significantly better than the others. Although I will say that some of the, just having read through this magazine, some of these articles seem, to end rather abruptly. For example, they have an article in the back here on the history of wrestling video games, and so these little blurbs could be fleshed out a bit more. The one area that I think Retro Gamer excels at is the layout. As you can see, as we've kind of flipped through Retro Video Game Magazine, it's not bad, but there's a lot of black on white. the page quality is good, but, nonetheless, I kind of think information about retro games is available from a lot of sources, and I think one of the reasons why you pick up a retro video game magazine is for a really nice display of the art assets, and for a very, very colorful, impactful layout. And really, I think that's where Retro Video Game Magazine is lacking. If we look here at Retro Gamer, you're going to see a lot more arts for these games, and really, really well done, I think. I mean, it kind of harkens back to things like, EGM back in the day. Like, sometimes they give you these nice, just panoramic layouts of certain levels. And, every page bursting with color. This is really, really top quality as far as its presentation. And that has, issue to issue, it's terrific. Just these beautiful shots of the old Game Boy screens. Now, granted, I mean, they have, they are backed by a huge publisher in the UK, so I'm sure they have sort of tools available to them that the upstart Retro Video Game Magazine doesn't. But, week after week, or excuse me, month after month, I should say, the layout of Retro Gamer is terrific. So as far as, the quality of the physical publication itself, Retro Gamer is bigger, has a nice glossy cover. It has this kind of more solid binding, whereas, Retro Gamer is smaller, a little bit flimsier, uses staples rather than the kind of glued binding. Both magazines have nice glossy pages. I mean, these are good quality. Both are very good quality from the materials and ink and stuff like that they use. This is not something I was reading recently. Maybe it was Game Informer, where it was one of the new EGMs, and it just felt kind of cheap. Neither of these feel cheap. Now, the really big differentiator between these magazines is price. I had subscribed to Retro Gamer for a year, and I got an introductory rate of 50 British pounds, which is somewhere in the neighborhood of $90, $95. Retro Gamer, I just subscribed to that. Now this is quarterly, or maybe not quarterly. Maybe they're trying to do it bi-monthly. They're trying to make this a bi-monthly publication. This is a monthly publication. This costs $35 for a year subscription. When they sent me the renewal information on Retro Gamer, I guess the actual price is, maybe it was £80, £70, £80, something like that, which, is creeping up to $150. And I really thought that, as much as I liked Retro Gamer, it's hard to justify paying that price. Once it sneaks up over $100 a year, just the money can be used for other aspects of the gaming hobby. Now, you can pick these up, or at least in my area, you can pick these up in Barnes & Noble. So I figured if there was a particular issue that I find interesting, I can pick it up at Barnes & Noble, and at $9, they're usually $9.99 a magazine. Buying it at the newsstand is actually cheaper than importing it from the United Kingdom. So I'm not sure if I'll get every edition, but if there's an issue that I like, I will pick it up. I haven't seen these on the newsstands, but I want to support this. I think this is kind of the Retro Video Game Magazine is kind of the magazine that I had hoped Retro Gamer would be. Layout issues aside, and kind of the presentation aside, I wanted a magazine that kind of harkened back to my youth, and a magazine that, just the idea of reading a video game magazine is itself an act of nostalgia. So I'll support these guys. Like I said, I hope the issues become a little bit more comprehensive. I hope that they expand upon their layout. I hope we get some more artwork, some more art assets in these magazines. They move away from the kind of black on white presentation. So which one should you get if you're looking for, if you're in the United States and you're looking for a retro magazine? Retro Gamer is, I think, overall the better publication. but it's not going to appeal to everyone, and as a subscription, it is incredibly pricey, and I think the price and the fact that it's so focused on the British market makes it hard to recommend, whereas I think Retro Video Game Magazine will, on the level of content, appeal to more readers in the United States, but if you're used to Retro Gamer, it may come off just below as far as its presentation goes. But both are excellent magazines, both are, worth reading, and let's hope that the US version gains some traction. So I thank you as always for watching Game Escape, and I'll be back shortly with another video.